name is Nora Mitchley. It's spelled Noramitschele.
Tell me a little bit about your project.
So mine is microorganism activity enhanced biochar as a biological improvement to Martian regolith, which is really just the soil on Mars, the topsoil. And so with this, I focused on trying to find a way for plants to grow on Mars when we have a civilization up there. But not in the atmosphere itself, but kind of creating like a biodome or just like a dome of some sort to help get the soil germinating, seeds germinating, soil plants growing. And so I actually did quite a few tests on this also. But I first started with mixing my soil, which is just Martian soil is just azimatite, diatomaceous earth, and red iron oxide, and then a little bit of sand. And I had biochar in it because biochar is just really dried carbon. It's basically like charcoal, but more scientific. And so when you have biochar in it, it also helps absorb nutrients and helps absorb water, which right now, when you mix just the soil, Martian soil itself, it is very clay-like and very dry when it is non-wet. So the biochar helps absorb the soil and the nutrients. And then for my microorganisms, I added Rhizofungus interdaces and then Azotobacter vanillii, which are both biofertilizers used on Mars. And really the reason for it is fungi has a very long shelf and stable life, and so it can last the journey to Mars. Same thing with bacteria. So trying to find a way to get things that we have on Earth all the way to Mars is kind of challenging right now, but since these both have a long shelf life, it's easier for them to transport. And so I first just did it. I had quad planters, which are these things up here. Each individual like quad, so the whole entire thing had one group. So I had 4 total quad planters for my 4 total groups. And I did a carbon dioxide additive. So I actually grew everything in a glove box, which you kind of can see pictured here. A glove box is just a really sealed off box that allows pressure to get in it and other gases that we don't really want floating around right next to us. And so I added dry ice to get a higher carbon dioxide percentage in the glove box, which you can see as the yellow line. And I did a germination count. So I did the first germination test, and with those days from day 1 to day 8, with the germination, with the seeds in there, and the high percentage carbon dioxide simulating Martian atmosphere, I got 0 growth rates, so 0 germination for all of the groups. So then on day 9, I introduced oxygen again, and so I actually got my germination results from oxygen up here. And so the only group that did not have any germination at all was bacteria. And I think there's something that happened in the soil itself with the bacteria that either killed the bacteria off or it was just not enough bacteria for anything to happen in the soil. And so using that kind of got me my data on how the ones without the additives actually grew better and had more germination than the ones with the additives, but that just means that there's something going on in the soil. I don't really know for sure yet. But I also did a pH value trying to see what the actual pH level of each group is. And so my control is just the Martian soil itself without any biochar, and it was kind of the same with the biochar and AMF additive. So they're kind of similar, and the biochar only was really high, which makes sense because biochar also produces a higher pH level when you only have it in there. So having the microorganism additives, it actually lowers the pH as well. And then I did an NPK analysis, which is the nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium analysis on it, trying to see the individual amounts of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium levels in the soil. And so really, I focused my results on the mean, on the pH, because it really tells us a lot. And I found that the soil, the ways that I tested the soil, or the different additives in the soil, the bacteria and the fungi actually create a significant difference in how the mean is. So I had a p-value of 0.001 0.0001, which is really significant, and it's changed the soil pH. And so there are some differences between the levels and the levels here, but overall, everything in it that I added changed it in different ways. So.
Why did you choose to do the soil on Mars for your project?
So I've always had an interest in Mars, and the soil there is kind of our new future. We're trying to get to Mars. We're going to the moon soon, but we already have the Artemis mission. But Mars is our focus for a new civilization. We want to do lots more testing on it because we already have rovers. And so I did Mars because it has a similar size of a planet to Earth, and it's a rocky planet, so we know that life can actually it's not like it's just a gas. And so really Mars is our new future focus in astronomy, and not really just in astronomy, but in space. And so I did Mars trying to get it ahead of what we're trying to figure out. That's kind of why I did it. That's why I chose Mars.
Thank you. What's your name and how do you spell it?
My name is Liam. It's spelled Liam.
Tell me a little bit about your project.
So I created a wearable gesture recognition wristband for a home automation system. This could be used in hospitals because doctors, as they walk around throughout the day, it's can be very hard for them to touch door handles and light switches because they can get very, very dirty, and that can cause diseases in them and it causes them to take time off work. Also, for people who have disabilities who are hard for them to get around, this can be used to wirelessly turn on lights, open blinds, open doors, and that kind of stuff.
What made you want to design this project?
So I went to a nursing home for Serve Lebanon, and I saw all the people who were in the nursing home. It was hard for them to get around, or for the people they were carrying stuff everywhere, and it was hard for them to open doors and to turn on the lights and stuff. So I thought of making some kind of home automation system. I ended up making a wristband because it was the easiest, and because of past people have made stuff like this, and I know that it could work.
Explain how the process went on designing the actual wristband.
So I started out by figuring out what kind of sensor I wanted. So I ended up getting an IMU sensor. It has a gyroscope and an accelerometer, and so it knows what direction it's going and how fast you're going. And so through this, I created a Raspberry Pi system that goes through a Wi-Fi network, and it has a backdoor system to a smart plug, and that turns the lights or switches or other stuff on and off.
Can you show us that?
Yes, this is on, and then this way is off. So do that a couple times. Mm-hmm. 1 second. There we go. Okay. Yep.
So that's really actually pretty cool.
Thank you.
Trying to think of something else.
You're good.
So explain more in depth, kind of all the way down to the key components you have to do to put it all together, like the prototype.
So my very first prototype, I had IMU sensor goes straight into Raspberry Pi, and then I was going to do a Wi-Fi network, like a relay, and that ended up not working, so I ended up cutting it, and so it's pretty streamlined. It keeps turning on and off, and so it's basically what I told you is exactly how it works, and so I made it decently streamlined, so that way it's easily adaptable. So
Well, thank you.
thank you too.
What's your name and how do you spell it?
My name is Lorelai Waite. It's spelled LORELAIWAITE.
What made you think to do this kind of project?
So I want to do a project that focused on something that really matters to me, and so I decided to do one that would focus on reading disabilities because I have dyslexia and I wanted to go more in depth on learning about that.
Okay. So explain the details on how you figured out your information.
So I began with a lot of brainstorming. I decided that I was going to use an eye tracking software to document eye movement whenever I had people reading samples that I created that are like what you would read out of a textbook or off an email. And using the 6 primary fonts, Arial, Times, Roberto Mano, Lobster, Great Vibes, and Dancing Script, I was able to find the one with the greatest level of comprehension and therefore accessibility. What I found in my data was that Lobster, surprisingly, had the greatest level of comprehension, and it completely debunked my previous hypothesis that Times New Roman would be the most accessible.
Okay. So how did you input it into like real world situations or scenarios?
So again, I used like what you would read out of a textbook, like samples in like English class and emails that you would have with like your workplace or school. So using these fonts, I was able to simulate what people would actually experience. And tying back, if it was implemented into the real world now, I feel like it would definitely help to change things over to something more accessible, like Lobster.
Thank you.
All right.
What's your name and how do you spell it?
My name is Connor Magruder, spelled CONORMCGRUDER.
What made you think to do this project?
I just know several people that have this disease, and I know that's a struggle for some people.
What is the disease?
So the disease is inflammatory bowel disease, and there is currently not a very viable cure for it.
So how did you figure out the like quote unquote cure for it?
So I went and I started looking at anti-inflammatory drugs that can prevent inflammation, which is a key part of this disease, is that it inflames intestines. So I started looking at anti-inflammatory drugs. I found one that works and is easily acquired. It is called quercetin. I used pure quercetin dihydrate, and I simply tested with it.
Okay, what does this project mean to you?
This project means a lot. I've spent many months working on it. I came in, Saturdays and stuff to work on it, and the fact that it actually worked means a lot to me.
Yeah, thank you. What's your name and how do you?
Isabel Rodriguez. I spell it Abelle and then Riguez.
Okay.
It's a project I did about therapy dogs. They affect student stress levels, especially in like an academic.
How did you figure out like your test?
I had students come in and sit in a 10-minute session with the dog, and then I also had a 10-minute session.
What does this project mean to you?
It means a lot to me. I'm very passionate about it. I chose something I was passionate about. I'm passionate about dogs, and I'm just glad that it worked and I got the results that I wanted.
Thank you. What's your name and how do you spell it?
My name is Kira Collins, and it's spelled KeiraCollins.
What is this project?
My project is the effects of acoustic waves on dust removal for photovoltaic units.
What was the process for your chart testing?
What was the process for my testing? I laid out 5 separate solar panels, covered them each with either soil or diatomaceous earth, and then I set a speaker underneath them, as well as other methods of cleaning, and I saw which one was the most effective.
What was the most effective?
So far, mechanical removal, which is just wiping it off with my hand. The simplest one was the easiest.
What does this project mean to you?
I've always had a sort of a passion for helping people in need, and my goal with this was to make it easier for people who need solar panels and need energy to actually get it, because in dusty regions it's really hard for people to keep their solar panels clean, and it's really expensive. Like this chemical treatment, if you buy just one bottle of it, it can get really expensive.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
What's your name and how do you spell it?
My name is Denver Woodruff. It's spelled Denver, Woodruff.
What is this project?
So this project, I'm pretty much testing the 4 compounds ginkgolide, resveratrol, coenzyme Q10, and curcumin on AB-induced paralysis in C. elegans. So pretty much what that means is I'm taking C. elegans, which are just nematodes. They're like little worms, and they're genetically modified and they have the AB peptide, which is in humans, and it pretty much makes them paralyzed, and it's a model organism for Alzheimer's disease. So the goal is to like lower how fast, like slow down the speed that they're paralyzed.
What was the process for your testing?
Well, I actually didn't get very far in the testing because a lot of my worms died, so it didn't go as well as I anticipated, and so. But the process was supposed to be pretty much me having testing on like 6 different groups with each compound alone, and then all the compounds combined, and pretty much every hour I'll see if the worm's paralyzed or not paralyzed, and then collect the data from there.
What does this project mean to you?
It means, I'm not even really sure on that one. It doesn't really mean a lot. Because it didn't work very well, but yeah, that's about it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
What is your name and how do you spell it?
My name is Aaliyah Kim. It's spelled AALIYAHKIM.
What is this project?
So this project is about phosphorus removal from water, specifically with using biochar combined with metals, ball milled together. Phosphorus runoff in water is largely caused by fertilizer use or the overuse of fertilizer. And when the phosphorus is in the water at unnatural amounts, it causes algae bloom, where the algae grows so quick it depletes all the oxygen in the water, and it creates little dead spots where fish or any other life cannot live in the water. So biochar in itself does not remove phosphorus, but it is excellent at being like a filter for many things and can be modified to catch multiple things. So this one was adding 2 parts biochar to 1 part metals that were ball milled together. That was then filtered with 1.5% concentration phosphorus through it. And then, potassium was added to that water. Because potassium reacting with phosphorus creates a blue chemical reaction color change. So the depth of the blue, or the wavelength of the blue, was red with the spectrometer. And that absorbance is shown here for each test group. The average of each test group and this standard deviation is shown on this graph. And compared to a standard curve, or comparing the absorbance to a standard curve, shows the concentration of each test group. So control itself actually leached phosphorus into the water because it went from 1.5% concentration to 3.2%. And this is because biochar comes from living things, so it has phosphorus in it, and the phosphorus leached into the water. The magnesium in biochar resulted in a 98.1% removal of phosphorus, and the concentration of it fell below the detection limit of the spectrometer. And the iron oxide groups and the magnesium chloride and iron oxide group showed that they both minorly removed the phosphorus from the stock concentration, but not statistically significant. And when a Kruskal-Wallis test, which is a stats test, was run on it, the p-value was 0.022, which shows that there was a statistical difference between the 4 groups. This meant the hypothesis was rejected, as the combination of iron oxide and magnesium chloride did not result in significant removal of phosphorus, but the experiment in and of itself was successful because it showed that magnesium chloride on its own, being only physically combined with biochar and not chemically combined with biochar, is successful.
Well, I was going to ask you another question, but you basically already answered it, so thank you.
Yeah.
What is your name and how do you spell it?
My name is Oren Cox. It's spelled Orencox.
What is your job at LHS?
I'm the high school librarian.
Okay. How does it feel to be a librarian?
I really like being a librarian and being able to help students with their research skills and maintain the looks and the organization of the library. That didn't make sense. But I just really like working with the students and being able to help them, attain their goals for the future concerning research and, inspiring books and other things in the library. Of course, this is my first year here, so hopefully next year we'll be moving forward a little bit.
What made you want to become a librarian?
Well, I've always been, when I was in doctoral school, it was very interesting to work alongside the librarian throughout the program and just learn the different skills that, go along with it. Of course, we did research before going to that part of school, but it's just an interesting fact to be able to, be able to decipher fact from opinion and be able to support thoughts in an academic aspect.
How does it feel to always have your library taken up by either posters or meetings?
I love having things like this, having the posters, having History Day, having the Science Day stuff in here. It is a little overwhelming sometimes for so many people to be using the library, but until our school gets built, the new part of the school gets built, that's just how it's going to be. And, all of us teachers are, here to support each other. And if I needed somebody else's space, they'd also be there for me. So it's kind of a take and give situation. But someday I hope to have it a little less, less closures, throughout the school year. But we, like I said, we're here for the students, and it's always student based. So that's what matters when it comes to most.
Okay, thank you.
If it was my library, none of you'd be in here.